What is going on, my fellow movie nerds and geeks alike? Today, I have another haul video for you guys.
Oh, Jesus, God, no.
This one is pretty much like the bulk of what I ordered from like the end of August all the way through September. Some cool pre-orders and a lot of basic stuff that I was just upgrading from DVD to Blu-ray. But, hey man, let's see what I picked up, and let me know if I missed out on anything that I should be checking out. Like I said, I have been in the process of upgrading all my old DVDs to Blu-ray HD, if you will, and this month was a heavy month for comedies that I just really wanted to upgrade, so let's get started. Tommy Boy. This is one of my favorite comedies ever growing up. I mean, Chris Farley and David Spade to me were the bee's knees. They were the funniest duo ever, and I only had this one on DVD, so I wanted to pick up the Blu-ray while it was nice and cheap. And yeah, man, I mean, Tommy Callahan just going around trying to sell auto parts is one of the funniest movies of all time, in my opinion. So yeah, Tommy Boy.
Oh my God.
And in that same vein, I also picked up their comedy Black Sheep. In this one, Chris Farley's brother is trying to become the governor, and he's going around trying to get people to vote for Al Donnelly. Another just all-time classic comedy from my youth that I needed to upgrade from DVD, and Black Sheep. Singles. This one is like a rom-com set in Seattle during the grunge era, which is a lot of fun. It is just like about like couples trying to find love amongst a sea of grunge bands. There's live performances from Soundgarden and Alice in Chains in here that are really awesome. It's kind of got the same tone as like those like coffee shop, like let's talk about our relationship kind of vibes from like a Kevin Smith or Tarantino movie. But yeah, Singles, it's just a lot of fun. If you're into rom-coms, this one's definitely sets itself apart with all like the grunge aesthetic and obviously the live performances from Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, man. You even get appearances from like Chris Cornell and stuff in here. It's great. Kingpin, another one from my youth that I think is an all-time comedy classic. Woody Harrelson, Randy Quaid, you got Bill Murray in here. I mean, it's just about, like, Woody Harrelson's character had his hand thrown in a bowling ball return and got it ripped off while he was on his way to becoming the greatest bowler ever. And he enlists Randy Quaid to help him make some money on the pro bowling tour. I mean, what can't be said? This is a Farrelly Brothers classic. God, some all-time comedic moments in this. And there's, like, a scene with Lin Shaye, like, Woody Harrelson is sleeping with Lin Shaye in order to pay his rent, and holy shit, is that still nightmare fuel to this day. Kingpin. Gotta see it if you haven't. Don't get Munsoned. Joe Dirt. Another David Spade classic. Him playing like just like this redneck guy who's trying to find his true parents. This one is just another silly, over-the-top comedy from my youth that I always had like an affinity for. Quit trying to fancy up your name, Dirt. Him finding that like giant hunk of plain crap is just so fucking funny, man. Like, this one still holds up for me. Joe Dirt, only had it on DVD, so finally upgraded it to Blu-ray. Coneheads, another one from my youth that is just an all-timer. Dan Aykroyd and his family of cone-headed aliens just land on Earth trying to make a life for themselves. It is just an all-timer. You got Chris Farley in here as well. It is just really silly, over-the-top funniness, and you gotta narfle the garfuck. God, I love Coneheads, man, and yeah, finally upgraded it.
I will enjoy it.
Dodgeball. This one is not as good as those ones I've already showed off, but I love Vince Vaughn, and Ben Stiller's essentially playing the same role that he played in Heavyweights, just like with adults this time. You know, they're just trying to save their gym from this like commercial, huge corporation type gym from taking it over, and they play dodgeball in order to win money to save it. It's just goofy, funny. Hell of a cast in this one, and it still holds up, kinda. The jokes are a little risque, which, you know, they don't make comedies like this anymore, so I had to pick it up on Blu-ray and upgrade it from my old DVD. And I actually upgraded Commando. Probably, aside from, like, Terminator and, like, the bigger name, like, Running Man, Total Recall stuff from Schwarzenegger that I just absolutely love. This is one of my favorite action movies of the 80s. And who else you got in here? Alyssa Milano. Hey, let off some steam, Bennett. Like, there are just, like, probably some of the best one-liners Schwarzenegger has ever uttered in this movie. And I only had it on DVD. I don't know why this one doesn't have, like, a super special edition yet. But hey, I picked it up on Blu-ray just because I wanted to see it in HD.
Don't disturb my friend, he's dead tired.
And this next stack is Scream Factory titles. They just never seem to go down in price, and there's a lot of movies that they've re-released on Blu-ray in a collector's edition type thing that I've always wanted to upgrade, but they just never go down in price, and some of these finally did, so I finally scooped them up. Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight. This movie is fucking amazing. You have Billy Zane giving an all-time unhinged performance as this, like, demon prince coming to collect this key that William Sadler has and just take over the earth and just shroud it in darkness. He has some amazing one-liners in this, and just like the special effects from like Greg Nicotero and K&B are just so amazing. But it's really Billy Zane that you want to see in this one. It is so good. You get Dick Miller in here, you get Jada Pinkett Smith. It is just fantastic, and I had to finally upgrade it, so I upgraded it to the Scream Factory version.
Fuck this cowboy shit!
You fucking ho dunk, po dunk, well then there, motherfuckers!
And I also picked up the other Tales from the Crypt movie that they did, Bordello of Blood. This one has like Dennis Miller in it, Corey Feldman. It's like a vampire flick, and the main head vampiress or whatever is heading a whorehouse where they feed on all these men thinking they're just gonna, you know, come in and get a quickie, but instead they get drained of their blood. It is a lot of fun. Goofy, almost more comedic than horror, but there's some great scenes in here, and seeing an unhinged Corey Feldman during a rough period in his life is crazy, and yeah, Bordello of Blood, it's just a lot of fun, and I finally upgraded it. And I also upgraded Silent Hill, obviously a video game adaptation from like the 2000s. I played a couple of the games growing up. I was more of a Resident Evil guy myself, but I always really liked this movie. There is this grim, dark tone throughout it that I just love. I think where this movie suffers is it is too CGI heavy at the end, but I mean, dude, the creepy ass nurses that only move when they like hear sound or see something is just super effective, and Pyramid Head when he strips that woman's skin off her body is just nightmare fuel, dude. But I always really liked this movie despite the CGI nonsense that is the ending, but Silent Hill finally upgraded it. 13 Ghosts. This one is another one that when I was in high school this was coming out and I was like, oh wow, I fucking love this movie. Matthew Lillard, Shannon Elizabeth, that dude from Monk as the dad. It is, it's fun, you know, a lot of you have the 13 ghosts living in the basement of this house, and like they let them out and fucking all hell breaks loose. It's like this glass house that's just like a giant like puzzle box. It's kind of crazy. I think it's doesn't really hold up for me in my older age, but it's still a lot of fun, and a lot of the practical effects are way over the top and something you kind of at least gotta see. And in that same vein, I also upgraded House on Haunted Hill. This is also a remake, just like 13 Ghosts was. This one isn't really like a true remake. It's just kind of like a 1999, 2000s era remake where it's like over the top scares and jump scares and quick cuts and stuff like that. But I always really liked it. It's got a cool score. It's got like a really good soundtrack. They have like fucking Marilyn Manson's Sweet Dreams on here. You have like a who's who of 90s fucking pop culture. Ali Larder, Taye Diggs, Chris Kattan, Jeffrey Rush, Famke Janssen. But I always thought the scares in this were really effective, and despite the ending being a CGI shitfest, bruh, I always really enjoy watching this, and it's a time capsule for me, and I always really enjoy it. So House on Haunted Hill, finally grabbed that Scream Factory version. I also grabbed Umberto Lenzi's Nightmare City. This is a very interesting one, man. It's not like your typical zombie movie. These are like people who have been infected with like radiation poisoning, so they're just like crazed maniacs going around slaughtering the people of Rome. It's a lot of fun, and the violence is intense and over the top. Not your typical zombie fare, of course, but I had a lot of fun with this, and it's certainly not what you're expecting when you're watching a zombie film, but it has one of the all-time dummy drops. Cinematic Void, you know what I'm talking about, where that woman falls down like that roller coaster. This movie is great. It is so over-the-top batshit crazy that it's a must-watch. But yeah, Nightmare City, definitely check it out if you like zombie films. And if you're a Lenzi fan or just into Italian cinema in general, this is a must-see. And I finally picked up Don't Torture a Duckling from Lucio Fulci. This is a dark, grim Giallo film. I really enjoy it. I love its dark implications, implicating the Catholic Church as like murdering all these children. There's also a scene where like a woman is so brutally beaten in this graveyard. It is insane, but you know how it's faux pas to kill children in horror movies. Well, this one goes there tenfold. It is a dark, very brooding Giallo film. Lucio Fulci at his best. And there's another Cinematic Void. I'm looking at you again. All-time dummy drop. It is so crazy. But if you're a Giallo fan, Italian horror fan, Fulci fan even, this is a must-watch. It is one of the darker, more sadistic Giallo films I've ever seen. Don't Torture a Duckling from Arrow. And these next two I picked up from the Vinegar Syndrome Totally Rad sale. But I finally picked up Demon Wind. I don't find this movie to be all that great. It involves like this kid who is going to investigate why his grandparents were murdered in this like remote region. It's kind of boring and it takes too long to get anywhere. It's kind of one of those movies where you're like, wait, is this really happening? Is this a dream? But I always really liked the like gooey, like wet, melty practical effects in it, so I wanted to always pick it up, and they finally put it at a price that I couldn't say no to. So Demon Wind, definitely check it out if you like really cool practical effects.
The power of your god is nothing, little man.
And I picked up Lamberto Bava's Delirium, Photos of Gloria. This involves a woman who's in like a sexy photo-esque company, and all of a sudden all the people around her start getting murdered. But what sets it apart is that the killer is using her old naked, nude photos of her propped in the background with the dead bodies of his victims. So he's sending it in to her, being like, hey, here's your friend all murdered with a picture of you naked in the background. This one is goofy and over the top and lots of sleazy moments, as most Giallo are. And this one, because it's done by Bava, you get a lot of like cameos by people that are in Demons and all his filmography. I would suggest this one if you're a fan of A Blade in the Dark, because it almost feels like a distant cousin of A Blade in the Dark, but it's a lot of fun, and if you're into like sleazy, heavy 80s Giallo, this one is for you. I had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, Delirium from Lamberto Bava and Vinegar Syndrome. I also picked up the 4K steelbook of Brian De Palma's Body Double. I had never seen this movie. I am new to this Brian De Palma 80s Hitchcockian thriller thing, but God, is he a maestro of this 80s thriller. This one involves like a struggling actor who is down on his luck, and his buddy like lets him stay at this penthouse, and he witnesses a murder take place. It is awesome. There is such a great 80s soundtrack in this, 80s vibe. God, the underbelly of Hollywood just getting explored, and just like some cool red herring Latin twists going on, and just insane cinematography. I love Brian De Palma, and I am so happy that even though I'm new to it, I finally got to pick this up on 4K, and it is great, fantastic. Definitely check out Brian De Palma's Body Double, and then check out like Blowout and Dress to Kill, all masterpieces.
And somehow Bill forgot to mention that we also got Long Legs on 4K. Probably my favorite movie thus far this year. And also, Body Double was virtually just a better Maxine.
And I also picked up Dario Argento's The Card Player. This was like an old Code Red Scorpion release version of this movie. This is later Argento, so you know it's not really that great. But I really liked it. It kind of involves like a killer who is kidnapping women, and in order to free the women, he is playing the police in video poker. Super interesting, like early internet type crime thriller giallo. I liked it a lot more than Stendhal Syndrome and some of Argento's other later works, but yeah, I think the score needs work here. It almost like drives you crazy, like you're in a rave or something. But it was a lot of fun for me, and I'm happy to finally knock off another one of Argento's filmography in my collection. And definitely check out the card player. It's not going to be for everyone, but I found enjoyment in it. And with this one, I told myself I wasn't going to upgrade my Blu-ray of this movie until I found the limited edition, which I did. I picked up the limited edition for Dario Argento's Phenomena from Synapse Films. This one in the card player I picked up from a new website that I came across called Monster Hall. It's kind of like a convention table, except in website form. They sell like toys, movies, and all that. But this one was limited and out of print, so I was hesitant to pick it up because the prices were so high. But they were selling this for lower than retail price, so I finally upgraded it, man. One of Argento's best. I'm sure some people would consider it their favorite. It involves Jennifer Connelly, who can like speak to insects and like animals, and Donald Pleasance is this like, I don't know, like doctor type guy who's like studying all these murders going on. It is just a lot of fun, a supernatural giallo, if you will. Great heavy metal soundtrack in here, and just like an all-time twist ending at the end. And yeah, man, a classic, Dario Argento's Phenomena, and I'm happy I finally was able to pick up this big box Synapse limited edition that's loaded with posters and special features just out the wazoo, man. Had to do it. Finally upgraded it to 4K. Phenomena. And the big one that everyone picked up this month, I finally got the Second Sight 4K limited edition of The Hitcher. My God. I haven't had the time to fully dive into all the special features on here, but I did flip through the book a little bit. It is just phenomenal. We watched the movie, and boy, is this worth the wait. We have been waiting 2 years for this to get released, and the transfer is no joke. It looks so good. The desert scenarios and landscape just look so amazing. And if you're unfamiliar with The Hitcher, it is about Rutger Hauer is this guy who's a hitchhiker, and C. Thomas Howell picks him up willy-nilly, and he tells C. Thomas Howell, he's like, listen, you gotta try to kill me, and I'm gonna try to kill you. So he is making C. Thomas Howell's life miserable, framing him for murders and crimes. It's just anxiety-inducing. One of the greatest road horror movies of all time, in my opinion. Some great gore effects. You even get like a young Jennifer Jason Leigh in here. Oh my God, Rutger Hauer is just fucking unhinged. One of the greatest villains of all time, playing John Ryder in this movie. This is a must-see. I hadn't watched it since my old VHS copy, so this is the first time I had ever seen it in like a clear HD quality, and it did not miss. And holy shit, is this limited edition packed to the gills with special features. I can't wait to dive into them, and the transfer is no joke. If you're waiting on picking this up, I can tell you, Second Sight killed it. And thank you, Diabolik, for shipping this out super quick to me. I got it before even release date. Do not miss out on The Hitcher. It is an all-time horror road, anxiety-riddling, fucking crazy movie, man. You have to see it if you haven't. The Hitcher.
I want you to stop me.
Sorry, it's just another haul video, but you know what? It is what it is. What have you guys been picking up lately? I would love to know in the comments down below. Vicky and I will be back this month, I'm sure, with some like Halloween-related type videos. If you like this kind of stuff, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. We will be back soon. I love you all. Thank you for watching all the time. We really appreciate it. And until the next video, you guys, adios.